All right, good evening, everybody. Public Act 100-0640 amends the Open Meetings Act to expressly authorize public bodies to meet remotely in certain circumstances without the otherwise required quorum present at the meeting place. This law requires that the head of the public body determine that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of a disaster. So once the president pro tem has been chosen, I'll ask that person to make the determination once the meeting is called to order. At least one member of the public body or the chief administrative officer or the chief legal officer must be present here at the meeting place unless it isn't feasible because of the disaster. And I'm here at the library this evening. We'll do a roll call after the meeting is called to order, and all votes will be by roll call. As with all open meetings, we provide space for public comments in accordance with the law. For the purposes of this virtual meeting, we've asked for the public to submit their comments via email or voice message, and I will read them aloud at the appropriate time. This meeting will be recorded and will be available on the library's website for 30 days and will be archived in our administrative offices thereafter. All right, and so our first order of business tonight is to administer the oath of office. All of you have already had your oath signed and notarized, but we thought it would be really great to have you all sworn in public as well. This is our library district's first elected board, and it's a big deal. So Kim Gauchi is the library district's notary, and she will administer the oath to Melinda, who is the secretary of the previous board, will then administer the oath to each of the rest of you. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Kim.
Hey, Melinda, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Melinda Riddick,
I, Melinda Riddick,
solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of library trustee
the duties of the office of library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations, Melinda.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan Citron, did I pronounce that?
Citron.
Citron, sorry. Could you raise your right hand? Okay. I, Ryan Citron.
I, Ryan Citron,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the library trustee
of the library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you.
Joe Philippek, could you please raise your right hand? I, Joseph Philippek,
I, Joseph Philippek,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office,
the duties of the office,
the library trustee, according to the best of my ability.
the library trustee according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Joseph.
Thank you.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
could you please raise your right hand? I, Paul Latour,
I, Paul Latour,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of the library trustee
the duties of the office of the library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you.
Sandeep Lande,
Londe, I think.
Longe, thank you. Could you please raise your right hand? Thank you. I, Sandeep Lange,
I, Sandeep Londe,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or affirm that I support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the library trustee
of the office of the library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Sandeep.
Thank you.
Matthew Orr, could you please raise your right?
There we go. I think sun's blocking it out.
No problem. I, Matthew Orr,
I, Matthew Orr,
solemnly swear to affirm
solemnly swear to affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the library trustee
of the office of the library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Matthew.
Thank you, Melinda.
Suzanne, can you just one time pronounce your last name? I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
Stegeman.
Steigeman, thank you. I, Suzanne Steigeman,
I, Suzanne Stegeman,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of the library trustee
the duties of the office of the library trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Suzanne.
Thank you, Melinda.
So congratulations to everyone. The board is seated.
All right, very good. Thank you all. So now that you're all sworn in, our first order of business is to elect a president pro tem to call the meeting to order, to make the in-person meeting finding, and to preside over the election of officers. The president pro tem's office will expire when the new president is elected. We'll also ask Melinda to continue on as secretary until a new secretary is elected. Do we have a nomination for the president pro tem?
I nominate Joe Philip to the office of President Pro Tem.
Is there a second?
I'll
I
second
second.
that.
Just a second.
Okay, who got that one?
We'll give it to Paul. I believe Paul had it.
Okay.
Oh, that wasn't me.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, I'm kidding.
I see. If this is how it's going to be, all right. Ryan, was it you?
It might have been.
Okay.
I'll take.
All right, so we need to call the roll.
There we go.
Melinda, will you do that for us?
I don't see a roll call. Did I get a roll call sheet?
Yes, there's one in your SharePoint. Or we can send it to you over email real quick.
No.
We can ask Kim to do it. Kim has the roll call sheet.
Can she do it? I'm sorry, I did not have that.
That's okay. I can do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Ryan Citrin,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Longday,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
and Suzanne Sigmund.
Yes.
motion carries. Joe is the president pro tem.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So at this point, I'd like to call this meeting of the Aurora Public Library District to order at 6:13 p.m. Our in-person meeting finding: the Aurora Public Library District Board of Library Trustees finds an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent at this time because of the ongoing public health emergency, and believes it is in the library's best interest to hold a virtual meeting to perform our essential duties. Melinda, if you, or Kim, I guess, if you could please call the roll.
Ryan Citrin,
And now we're just
Present.
present. Thank you, Ryan.
Joe Philippek,
Here.
Paul Latour,
Present?
Sandeep Longday,
Is here.
Matthew Orr,
Present.
Melinda Riddick,
Here.
and Suzanne Stigman.
Here.
Okay, thank you for that, Kim. So at this point, we are now going to move into election of officers. I know that Melinda and I had reached out by at least email to some of you, to all of you, to explain that this would be part of the process. And while it's a little unusual to be asking you, a minute and a half into your first meeting, to consider these roles of officers as a new board and so many new board members, and because we have these 4 offices to fill, statutorily required to fill, we have to move to the selection of officers on the agenda. So Roger Ritzman is here with us, our attorney. Roger, are you able to just say a few words about the officer and the kind of the process of electing officers?
Sure. The library district, first of all, let me congratulate all of you. This is an historic moment. It's the first elected board for the library district. And so it is a big deal, as Michaela says. So congratulations. We made the transition from an appointed board as a city library to an elected board as a library district. And so congratulations to all of you. Under the applicable statute, which is the Public Library District Act, the requirement is that the first order of business of the new board is the election of officers. And so procedurally, it could be done in a couple of different ways. Somebody could make a motion to nominate a slate of officers, or we could elect officers one at a time with a motion to appoint John Doe as president. Second, any discussion, and then a vote. And so we could do them one at a time, or we could, if there's somebody that has a slate they want to propose, the same thing. I move that we elect the following slate of officers. There's a second on that motion, then there'd be a vote on that. And so we could do that. And so we have, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. The president's duties include basically, handling the administration of the meeting. The board vice president would step in the absence of the president. The board secretary's responsibility is to make sure that we maintain all of our official records, and the board treasurer is responsible for oversight of our financial matters, all of course in coordination with our library director and her staff. So that's kind of in a nutshell the way it works. We do have bylaws that address the responsibilities of the officers with a little greater specificity, but in a nutshell, that's how it would work. So the first order of business is the election of officers, and as I mentioned, so we can pick them off one at a time, or we could do a slate depending on your preference. It's a discretionary, call of you.
Okay. One question, Roger, or even to Michaela, if there is any, may a trustee, a board member nominate themselves for an office?
Yes, they may.
Yep. Okay. I think that in our conversations, we were, thinking that we would, instead of a slate, that we would handle these individually. Is there anybody opposed to using that process?
No.
Okay. Then if there is not, I guess, are there any other questions for Roger before we move on?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, then I will start by asking if there are any nominations for president.
I nominate Joe Philippek.
Thank you, Matthew. Are there any
I'll
other
second that.
nominations? Thank you, Ryan. Are there any other nominations anyone would want to make? Okay. If not, we have a motion and a second. So is there any discussion? I will just say that obviously a lot of you know that I've served as vice president, and with so many new faces, I'm happy to step into this role, and thank you for the motion, the second. So with that, I guess I will ask Kim to call the roll.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Lande,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
Suzanne Stigman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you all again very much. We now move on to vice president. So I would be looking for any nominations for the office of vice president.
I'll nominate myself.
Thank you, Matthew. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
That's Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, to elect Matthew Orr as vice president. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will ask Kim again for a roll call.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippak,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yep.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
Suzanne Stegman.
Yes.
Great. Motion carries. Matthew, congratulations, Vice President of the Aurora Public Library District Board. Next, we will move to Treasurer. I am looking for a motion for the Office of Treasurer.
I nominate myself, Melinda Riddick.
I'll second.
So that was Melinda nominating Melinda Riddick. Who had the second there?
Suzanne.
Okay. Are there other nominations? Okay. Any discussion? And if not, I will ask again, Kim, for a roll call vote.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippak,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yeah.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
Suzanne Stegman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations, Melinda.
Thank you.
All right, we're 3/4 of the way there. We have one officer position left, and that is secretary, the one that Melinda has been holding. Do I have a nomination for the office of secretary?
Oh, come on, guys. No time to be shy. Secretary's a fun job.
Melinda, do you want to make a little sales pitch for the fun you've had as secretary? How it's been rewarding and professionally, yes, and personally?
Yeah, it has been great being the secretary of the prior library board. To be honest, everyone is not a lot involved. You get a lot of support from Michaela and from Kim. So they do all really the heavy lifting. I would just, I guess, be the one that was up front, but they did all the background work. But it's really not a lot involved. But there are documents that you will have to sign from time to time that, again, the president will also have to sign, but it's not a very strenuous responsibility. I was very proud to hold that position for the time I did on the prior library board. So hopefully that might help a little bit here of getting some our new board members to consider this position.
And in case you're hesitating, the secretary does not take minutes at the board meetings because in some organizations, secretary but that is something that staff handles. So I'll try again. Are there any nominations for the office of secretary?
Cindy?
I'll
Paul?
nominate myself.
Was that Suzanne?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Gold star, Suzanne. Thank you. Do I have a second
Okay.
do I have
will
a second?
it.
Lots of second. I'm not sure who got the second on that one.
Somebody claim the second, please.
I'll claim it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. And so I will ask for one more time a roll call vote, Kim.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippak,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
and Suzanne Stegman.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you once again, Suzanne. Thank you all for your willingness. And, these are not lifetime appointments. They are, I believe, 2-year terms, right, Michaela, for the officer positions. So there will be other opportunities. And as we've mentioned to you all, there are obviously committees that we'll be filling probably at the next meeting. We'll talk about that. but this was obviously a necessary step we had to take. So thank you all. So with that, I'm going to pass things over, I believe, to Michaela to talk about our next order of business, which is our term lottery.
All right. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, everyone. So now we hold a drawing to see how long each of you will serve. This is a one-time action as a newly constituted board, and it established an election rotation for future board members. 2 of you will serve 2 years, 2 will serve 4 years, and 3 will serve 6 years. As a reminder, you were all elected to 6-year terms, and you or any subsequent board can change that to 4 years, but that action won't change the terms that are established in tonight's drawing. So I'm going to ask each of you to pick a number between 1 and 7. Kim has cards that she's going to show that have the number that you choose on one side and then your term length on the other side. Okay, make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go in alphabetical order because this is a library. And I'm gonna call you guys. So you guys should know this. What Melinda has a question. Yes.
I'm just wondering, you said 1 through 7. Can the same number be picked twice? Like if somebody picked 5,
No, this is just like if you guys were each drawing straws. There's only 7 straws in the bucket. So I know you guys at the end of the alphabet, that's no fun, but you know. All right, so we should have this order down by now, but Ryan, you're first. Pick a number between 1 and 7, please.
I'll choose number 3.
Here's your number. Do I do the reveal now?
Yes, the reveal. 2-year term. All right, Joe Philippette, you are next.
Okay, I will choose number 7.
Number 7.
A 6-year term. All right, Paul.
4.
A 4-year term.
I missed the turn. I missed the reveal. I just saw
Oh.
the 4 again.
And 4.
All right, Sandeep.
5.
A 2-year term. Matthew.
I got Kim's screen frozen on mine. I don't see hers.
Yeah, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay, give me one moment. Okay, everything's
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, Matthew. So it's your turn to choose a number between 1 and 7.
I believe 1 has not been called. I'll take 1.
A 6-year term. Melinda.
I am so surprised. I'm going to get the number I wanted to say. Number 6.
And that is a 6-year term. All right, Suzanne, I'm sorry. You have the one remaining number, which is
Yep.
number 2,
Yep, number 2,
and that's a 4-year term.
a 4-year term. Yep.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Not sure we'll ever do anything more fun than that just was with the reveal and everything. It was kind of our one game here tonight, but thank you all for playing and thanks to the staff for coordinating that. So Michaela, I would assume that those, the term, in case we forget what we drew, that will be updated somewhere in SharePoint with the document of the trustees and our term.
That's right. I'll have your contact information and your term limits and your committee appointments once those are done next month. I'll get it up before then, of course, but.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so moving on to our agenda. Michaela, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
I have none.
Okay. So with that, we are going to now move into the approval of minutes from the April 28th, 2021 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes?
I don't have any changes, Joe.
Okay. I do not. Let's see. I think we're going to have here Melinda has a statement. Am I right?
Yeah, Melinda, we're going to ask you to just verify that the minutes are an accurate representation of the proceedings of the minutes of the meeting, rather, and then make a motion to approve them, since you were there.
Yeah, I'm I'm sorry, just trying to get to my statement.
Mhm.
And this is certainly not the normal process, but because so many of you were obviously not at the April meeting, it was just Melinda and myself. We wanted to make that statement that for the two board members that were in that meeting as board members, that we feel that they're an accurate representation.
And Melinda, you can just say that you agree that it's an accurate representation and make the motion to approve. That's good enough.
Okay, I agree with the approval of the April 28th, 2021 board minutes.
And I will second that motion, affirming that it's an accurate representation of the proceedings of that meeting in April. So Kim, if you could call the roll for approval of April 28th board minutes.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yep.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes,
Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We'll next move into staff and board introductions. Michaela, do you want to start us off on this agenda item?
Sure. I'd like to introduce you all to our senior management here this evening. Me, you all know. Tom Spicer is with us this evening. He is the library's deputy director. Tom manages our public service departments here at Santori and fills in for me while I'm away, among many other duties. Heather Sturm is our neighborhood services director. She manages the branches and the outreach department, which includes our bookmobile. Heather is pinch hitting as our meeting coordinator this evening. Thank you, Heather, for doing that. Shelby Pratt is our finance manager. This is Shelby's first meeting as well. He started with us on April 5th, and he has made himself indispensable. You will be hearing a lot from Shelby in the next couple of months as we go through our budget and appropriations process. Two members of our executive team aren't here this evening. You will meet them next time. Brenda Blau is our human resources manager. She's a SHRM qualified human resources professional and really helps us with our over 150 employees. She's on vacation this week. Miriam Mezagato is our communications manager who is out on parental leave. And finally, last but not least, Kim Gauchi is here with us. She's the administrative assistant to the finance manager, and she provides board support to me. She will be a very familiar face and a voice to all of you over the next few years. So, Mr. President, why don't you go first? Just give yourself a minute introduction, and then you can call on all the other members of the board in whatever order you choose.
All right, thank you, Michaela. So Joe Philippek, I've been on the board now for, I guess, 3.5 years, something along those lines. My day job is working for Reaching Across the Illinois Library System, acronym is RAILS, and we support the 1,300 plus libraries across much of Illinois in a lot of different ways. I've worked at a couple different public libraries, and I also serve on the Illinois Library Association Executive Board. So libraries are obviously what I think about for most of the day, and it has been my pleasure being part of this board, and will be my pleasure working with all of you and to really position our library for continued success. So I'm grateful to have you all here with us tonight. So Melinda, I will turn it over to you now for a quick introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda Riddick. I guess I'll just follow the same format as Joe. My day job, I work for Caterpillar, located on actually the west side of Aurora, right there off of Orchard Road. I have been with Caterpillar now for 24 years. Actually, tomorrow will be my 24th anniversary with the company. I started off in engineering, and my current position is supply management manager. So I joined the Aurora Public Library Board back in 2018. I was previously appointed, and I'm happy to continue on and look forward to working with everybody on the district library.
All right. Thank you, Melinda. I'm just going to move through how I see you on my screen in Zoom. I will say that you can use whatever format you want and tell us whatever it is that you would like to tell us. Paul, can I go to you next?
I have nothing to disclose. No.
There you go. Good answer.
I'm Paul Latour, and for my day job, I work in the publications department of the American Nuclear Society, located over in LaGrange Park, its headquarters. And I've been involved with, but libraries have been a part of my life since I was a little kid. Riding my bike to the little branch library in my hometown, and I've always wanted to kind of get more involved. So this is something that I saw when the opportunity presented itself, that there was going to be an election. I figured I would jump in. I also recently received my certificate as a library technical assistant. So I have some kind of knowledge of the day-to-day operations of libraries, as well as outreach programs and different things that we do. So I'm very honored and excited to be part of this board, and looking forward to getting to work.
That's great, Paul. Thank you. How about Matthew?
Okay, so I will go with the same format. My name is Matthew Orr. I'm 22 years old. My day job, I'm a head building engineer, which is basically just another word for custodian for Schneider Elementary, which is an elementary school for School District 129. One of the reasons why I chose to run for this position here on the Library Board of Trustees was because I ran for alderman back in 2019 for the 6th Ward, and I knocked on probably close to about 1,000 doors. And of those 1,000 doors I knocked on, I would say probably at least 150 had some sort of comment to discuss about the West Branch Library. It was a very high-raised topic in 2019. We saw these board meetings have close to like 200 people. I mean, the whole entire sanitary library packed out, from front to back with people. I mean, it was a very, very big deal. So I figured when this time came, for an elected board, I figured I would step up and fulfill, the duties of, serving our community. So that's the reason why I chose to run for this board. I'm excited to get to work, and I can't wait to, get to know you guys a little bit better.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew.
No problem.
How about Ryan?
Thank you. So my day job is I work for R.R. Donnelly, a commercial printing company, quite a large one. We have in my division 7 sites across the U.S. I am the quality assurance manager for my division, so I have responsibility across our sites. Mainly I work with our factory leaders, executive leaders, and a lot of our large clients on any of their challenges as it relates to quality assurance. And a lot of them have very specific needs due to the industries that we serve, primarily the financial services and the healthcare industry. I do a lot of continuous improvement things with policies and procedure implementation. I work very closely with our IT groups to improve the IT that we use within our factories and do KPI reporting on those aspects. I also have a background in employment practices, liability underwriting, as well as directors and officers insurance. So I have some pretty good background in employment law and financial statement analysis. I'll also say that I'm a former alumni of Caterpillar as well, Melinda, so we'll have to compare notes at some point. I spent about 8 years at Caterpillar. I am a former board member of a volunteer ambulance corps, and I believe in the mission that the library is here to accomplish, and I'm looking forward to being a part of that and working with this group.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. Sandeep. Oh, we just need you unmuted there.
Dear, I
There we
realized that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sandeep Londe, I've been an Aurora resident for about 17 plus years. Before that, I was in Naperville, and even before that, I've moved around different cities in the US. And way back, if you take it about 30, 40 years ago, I was in India. So I kind of graduated from India, came over here, and proudly part of the US demographic now. My job is I'm in technology consulting. So I'm part of a senior leadership team in a mid-sized consulting company here in Aurora. Before that, I've consulted through kind of a much larger consulting companies, primarily focused on retail, healthcare, and financial sector. But now with this mid-sized company, I'm focused on healthcare and financial services, and manage a team of people who are growing the company and also managing the delivery for our company. Been part of different boards here, even in city of Aurora. I have been part of the youth organizations. I'm very proudly part of a scouting organization, and actually in the next few weeks, we are going for our kind of 10-day backpacking trip to Philmont. So I'm very looking forward to it. So quite actively involved in the community, quite actively involved in bringing help to kids and youth. So my reason for being on the board was really to bring, one of the things was kind of people approached me to be part of the board here when they realized that there's a need or opening here to bring diversity and different thoughts to bring and reflect the diversity of Aurora as a city and a community. So I'm looking forward to be part of this group to bring what I can bring from my professional experience, from my cultural experience to grow the community and make sure that we deliver services that enrich our society here.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Sandeep. And finally, Suzanne.
Sorry. Okay, there we go. Let's see. My day job, I'm a business consultant with a small consulting firm, Campus Bookstore Consulting. We work with colleges and universities and help them with their bookstores. So it's academic retailing. I've been with CBC for about 6 years. And prior to that, for 30 years, I worked for the Follett Higher Education Group. And I was responsible for sales and operations of college and university bookstores throughout the US and Canada. I also serve on the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry Board, where I serve as the treasurer. And I really in the past, when I lived in LaGrange, I served on the board of the LaGrange Public Library. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you and getting to know all of you. And I'm very excited to begin my term as trustee.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I think that is everybody. Did I miss anybody? I hope not. If I didn't, just want to say that I hear a lot of great variety of skills and experiences that as a board, I think will be great for us to leverage, and a lot of great reasons that you described for wanting to be part of this board and to be in service to the library and our community. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing. Okay, so that gets us to the next agenda item, which, Michaela, is the Executive Director's Report.
All right, thank you, Joe. So every month, you guys, I will prepare a written report for your board packet, and then I'll have a few things to add at the meeting. As we move forward, we'll talk more about what you'd like to see in that written report and what else you'd like to learn from me. There is a board action calendar in your SharePoint site, so you can kind of see what's coming up next. And my plan is to bring in different staff over the next however many months, so you can learn different aspects of the library's operations. So we have a lot going on. We always do, it seems like, and there's a lot to learn. So I'll just mention a couple of things because we have a lot going on tonight, and you guys have heard plenty from me already today. First, that the library, we are in step 3 of our reopening plan, which is also in your SharePoint. And we plan to move to step 4, full hours and services, on June 5th. Some of those services may be modified that we're in compliance with state or city guidelines, and we'll keep you updated on that. We heard from the City of Aurora Mayor today that the city plans their full reopening to begin on June 11th in accordance with the governor's plan. So we are a little bit ahead of that, but we will continue to follow guidelines as far as masking and distancing and all those things as long as they apply. So if you have any questions about that, you can let me know tonight or any other time. I'll tell you real quickly too, I'll just give you an EDI update. You all know that the library hired an equity, diversity, and inclusion consultant back in January of this year, and that's Rashida Graham Washington and Associates. We're currently in the policy review phase of this year-long project with her team and our team. We reviewed 7 public-facing policies together, and we'll be making recommendations to you for revisions to those policies. Usually policy review starts on the staff level, then goes to the board's policy and personnel committee, and then to the full board for approval. We're looking into adding a public comment or a public input phase into the process. And so I'll give you an update once we have a little more structure around some of those ideas. And so that's what I have for you this evening. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on anything I've said or anything in my written report or anything else.
Anybody have any questions for Michaela from her report? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Michaela. We will now move on to our Deputy Director, Tom Spicer, who's going to talk to us about a snapshot of library use statistics.
Thanks, Joe, and just wanted to say it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I was anxious to meet the new board, so looking forward to working with all of you as well. So I think Heather's going to share her screen real quick, and this was a part of your board packet. It was pages 10 and 11, and I wanted to share some review of these statistics and look at some program and service highlights. And we're going to start with the statistics, and these really are basic library use measures that our library collects and has been collecting every month, and that we report once a year to the Illinois State Library as a part of what's called the Illinois Public Library Annual Report, or IPLAR for short. And so a few things. This is a 3-year comparison of the month of April. And it's a really fascinating look, to be honest. I've looked at statistical comparisons a lot, being in libraries, and this one was really just kind of astonishing to see what we've gone through in 2020. So at the top, those salmon colored or orange colored rows are program statistics, number of programs we held, and then attendance. And then in green below are physical item checkouts. And then the blue ribbon would be e-content checkouts. So items, books that people have downloaded. And then below that in the gray section is computer use. And finally, library visitors by branch. And so a few things to note. It was encouraging to see that we surpassed our April 2020 program attendance amount this past month. And it's encouraging because we started to offer in-person programs, obviously socially distanced and safe, but we're seeing people come back to some of our programs. And yes, we're still offering virtual programs as well. I'll also say that item checkouts are still low compared to, for example, April 2019, but we can see that we are bouncing back from, like, let's say April 2020. And just so everyone's clear, in April in 2020 was the first full month that we were really closed for the entire month due to the pandemic for in-person services. We did offer some other virtual services like e-circulation, which was a bump in April of 2020. So that's, I guess the final thing is that visitor totals and computer use totals are low, but we do think that it's pandemic related and also related to the idea that we're trying to keep people safe. We've taken away the number of computers to ensure 6 feet social distancing, and we were really requiring or encouraging appointments to use our services so that we could manage people visiting the library and keep it safe.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Are there any questions for Tom?
I had a question. I'm just curious about the virtual programming. Is that something that you're gonna be continuing, or is that just once everything goes back to full board, is it just going to be something that won't be necessary anymore, or won't be tried?
Right, good question. We like the idea of keeping virtual programming intact to some capacity because it really is an accessible format for people to access our programming service. So we like it for that reason. And you can see that sometimes we called the program self-paced. So what that means, they were recorded and then people can watch them whenever they had the capacity to do so. And we like that element of those as well. So we plan to keep a component of virtual programming moving forward.
That's good to hear. I know, like, a couple of things that I really enjoyed that you've been doing is like the combined events with other libraries where you've had like major authors that maybe the library by itself wouldn't be able to bring in, but that allowed, us to have that for the patrons. And I thought that was a really excellent use of the virtual programming.
Yeah, I think we were really happy to be a part of that multi-library partnership too. And just what you said, it allowed us to do some things we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Just two more things. If Heather, if you can go to I wanted to just give some programming highlights real quick, because those statistics tell kind of one story, and we're moving towards outcomes evaluation for a lot of our services and programs too. And outcomes can be thought of like what change occurred in the customer who visited our building or attended a program. And I thought these two highlights did a good job of that. On April 22nd, we held a transgender and non-binary awareness panel discussion, and it was presented in partnership with the Aurora Human Relations Commission as part of Fairness and Equity for a Better Aurora series. And a few things to note, of the survey responses received, 100% of the people believe that the program met or exceeded their expectations, and 75% reported an increased understanding of people and communities who identify as transgender and or non-binary after attending the program. So in terms of that's really nice for us to hear that, 3/4 of the people who attended had their awareness and their attitude change regarding this population. And one quote I wanted to pull out is that a survey responder said, "I am transgender. I have an increased understanding of how to reach my parents and what resources are available." Finally, I'll just mention that our first Friday event on April 2nd had 114 attendees, and it was our first in-person art exhibit since the pandemic broke out in March of 2020. And it's a part of our downtown Aurora partnership where, this series invites the community to enjoy art, music, food, theater, and more on the first Friday of every month. And we value this partnership. We want to be contributing to downtown Aurora maintaining its vibrancy, to be a community gathering space, and to support local businesses and organizations to make that happen. And then the last thing I would say is just kind of what Michaela had mentioned at the end of her director's report, is that we would be interested to hear what you guys would find valuable in terms of these snapshots moving forward.
Tom, I have a question. On the statistics, how do we compare against other libraries in the state? Do you compare against that? Are we trending in the same direction? Or because I'm sure based on the demographic, there may be some differences here and there. So that's one question. And second is, as you present the statistics, how do you use the statistics to improve the library? Or is it just primarily collecting the data?
Both good questions. I'd welcome anyone to help answer. I think a few responses from my perspective is that, we're the second biggest city in Illinois. We have 3 branches and we have a bookmobile. And so sometimes I think it is a little bit difficult to compare to another library in Illinois. But I do think that of similar sized libraries, we can do that. I will say though, Sandeep, I haven't looked at those recently, to compare ourselves to another library, but that would be something that we could do. And then, yes, I think one of the things that statistics can do is they can help you identify trends. I think that's why I like the 3-year there. So if you identify a trend where maybe you could capitalize on something that's going really well, or put more resources into a program or service that's really working and valuable for the community, you can do that. And maybe you can look at comparisons year to year to year. I think one pivot that I really appreciated from our library during the pandemic was our reallocation of e-resources, physical library item resource is into e-circulation resources, because no one could really get to our library to check out. In-person services were closed. So what we started doing was putting more money into e-resources, ebooks, so people could check them out safely from their home. And we did see a bump up in circulation in April of 2020 of e-content checkouts. We had about 15,686 compared to a little under 10,000 in the same month in 2019.
Yeah.
I can jump in there a little bit, if that's all right.
Yes.
As far as the comparison with other libraries, it's a great question, and the reporting is not really real time. The statistics that we have access to are reported on an annual basis, from other libraries. So we do look at that when those annual reports come out. We benchmark against other libraries in the state and other libraries nationally, but it's not real-time reporting, so the last benchmarking we did it's out of date already. I can tell you anecdotally from other directors that we're pretty much on track with what other libraries have seen during the pandemic. Huge drops in attendance, in circulation, things like that. Even libraries that opened faster than we did and opened more than we did still saw very low usage rates during the pandemic. I think it's partly a function of people being cautious. I think as we focus more on curbside pickup and drive-through service, we're filling holds, and so people pick up what they asked for. It's not like when before times people would come and browse and they would just leave with an armload of books. So it's a little bit different model of library usage. It's been really consistent what I've heard from other libraries so far. Once we all get a little bit back to more normal business, it'll be interesting to see how we track. I think the last time we looked at benchmarking against other libraries, we found that our program attendance was higher than the average. Circulation was lower. Library visits were about the same and computer use was higher. Those are the big measures that all libraries track. So it's a great question. And if you guys are interested in that, we'll definitely do more of that kind of analysis for you.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious, I mean, maybe we'll take it later on, but I'm curious as to how do we use the statistics to drive the spread of knowledge, I mean,
Right.
enough it, right? And then
Right.
what mechanism, what mechanics to be used,
Mhm.
what tools are there, what methods are more available, and how the demographic is using the tools that are available in library more effectively, and then how are we helping them?
Right.
So, and there are a lot of questions there,
Yeah.
but I think we don't have to answer all of them, but I want to make sure that we start thinking about that.
That's great. We have a tool that we use called Collection HQ that helps us analyze our collection performance. And we'll bring our collection manager in to talk about how that works and how we're using it. For program statistics, there's no product that we use. We do it more in-house, but we'll definitely talk as we go along in future meetings about how we use the data we collect to help drive our offerings and to help measure success and things like that. It's a great question. Thank you.
Any final questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yep. I just wanted to say, Tom, I appreciate the context and the comments. I also believe that that's important, just as much as the statistics are important, understanding what the programs mean to the community through hearing some of those contexts, hearing that context and hearing some of those comments. So I just want to say thank you because I really appreciate that part as well.
Thank you very much, Suzanne.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Tom, thank you very much for that information that you shared with the board tonight. We will now move to the next agenda item, which is public comments. Michaela, were there any public comments that you received? Oh.
Joe, we do have public comments. Would you read the limitations on the public comments statement?
Oh, sure. So the board's bylaws limit public speakers to 3 minutes per person, with an overall limit of 30 minutes of public comment per meeting as allowed by state law. For this virtual meeting, Michaela will read comments submitted via email or phone as allowable under the guidance of the Attorney General's office.
All right, we have one public comment, and I'll read it now. Greetings to the honorable inaugural members of the very first elected Aurora Public Library District Board, and congratulations. Let me begin by saying a sincere thank you to each of you for the effort required to run for office and volunteering to be of service to the library, its staff, and its patrons. To Melinda and Joe, allow me to once again publicly thank you for continuing your service to the community and bringing forward the institutional knowledge of the previous board decisions and actions. You'll note that I volunteered you in the next paragraph. Smile. To the majority 5 new members, I urge you to review the minutes of past meetings. And while those minutes will tell you what was decided, may I also suggest that engaging with Melinda and Joe will afford you an insight into why actions were taken or rejected. That said, please remember that your new board now consists of only 7 members. I would caution you to review the Open Meetings Act section concerning the restrictions of the majority of the quorum rule, lest you inadvertently violate discussion limits. When you visit the branches and talk with managers Tom, Scott, and Becky, make a point of chatting with we the patrons as well. We don't bite, smile, though Michaela may caution, we sometimes growl a bit, grin. My best wishes to each of you for a successful term of office. I look forward to your stewardship of the excellent library staff assembled by Michaela and the progress that lies ahead for all of us. Again, thank you for your service to the community. Ken Van Andel, West Branch user, card holder since 1970.
Okay,
That was our
thank
only
you.
comment, Joe.
Great. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Ken. So we now move into a new business, the first of which is approval of April-May bills. And I believe we're going to ask Shelby to introduce this one.
I'm going to do the very best that I can. And I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but welcome and congratulations for everyone that has joined this group. I didn't beat you by very much. I think I've just completed 8 weeks, so we're in this together here. So what you have in your bundle that was provided in the documentation is the monthly authorization sheet, which is familiar to Melinda and Joe, new to everybody else. It is just a very quick encapsulation of the expenditures for the library between last meeting to this meeting. So you can see a total of about $930,000 in a combination of about 510 in salaries and benefits scenario, and then another 419 or so in accounts payable, which does include, I did a quick, for those that may not be at all familiar, because I am barely a little bit more familiar than 5 of you are, of the accounts payable. That's the vast majority of that is resources. That is going to be books that are purchased, electronic subscriptions that are provided to the constituents and so forth. About 170,000 of that, another 99,000 in insurance benefits for on top of what you saw that was actually paid as payroll and retirement services. So we will, of the 419 that you saw, that was from the 8 or so pages, 19 total pages of expenditures that were provided. You see that on there is again about 419,000. We will have better, as we move forward, you're going to hear more about the Tyler Technologies implementation that's going on. With what that is an in-house accounting system that we are in the process of actually getting education on how to construct that for our use to be live later this fall. So what you see here, it has sufficed because it was what was available from the city accounting system. I probably will not make many changes to what we see in the next handful of months, because I don't want to make another change in the fall when we have a new system that's available to us. So when we get there, I will ask the same question that both Tom and Michaela have asked. If there's something in particular that you would like to focus on or to be able to highlight, that will be valuable input that I will love to get from you at that point in time. Until then, I can't really change the what we have in place, and I don't want to build something brand new that you're going to get used to and then have to change it again. But you do have, if there were any questions, if you had a chance to look through the information of the individual expenditures, if there's a question about any of that you have, we'll be glad to try to address that. But this is what we will ask you to approve at this time, and you can get familiar with this structure at least for the next couple of months as we move forward.
Okay, do we have any questions for Shelby or Michaela related to the financials that were provided?
I'll say, if I may, that
Yes.
there will be a lot more information about the library's financials over the next few months as we work through the budget and levy process.
Yep.
One thing I would like you all to pay attention to, you will always see this in your packet, the fund balance report. So as we continue our separation from the city, you will see, and this is the second page after the authorization sheet, you will see that balance dwindle as we expend the funds that are on deposit in our city's accounts. We've begun to receive our tax revenues already from the various counties, and we will realize most of those by the end of June. And those are going into our own accounts. And Shelby's going to figure out a way to show you the balances in those accounts too as we move forward, so you can see that. By our reckoning, we have enough money on deposit in the city's accounts to carry us through our implementation with Tyler. And so we're just going to let this ride out. So there are two funds there. There's the 210 fund, which is really our operating fund. The 310 is our technology fund, which we have authorized for this to be moved into the library's own accounts, and that should be reflected at your next meeting. As Shelby said, the expenditures, this is just how they're listed. As you'll see, it's just by vendor. The vast majority of these things are for materials, for technology, and things that that Shelby mentioned. I'd like for you guys, of course, to take a look at these things and to ask questions if you have them. But I also don't want you to be too, when you see this 40-page financial report, I don't want you to feel like you need to give up 1 weekend a month to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. So, you have the responsibility to oversee our finances, but it's oversight, and we will keep very, very close track of the details. We'd be happy to talk to you at any time about the library's financial controls. And so if you have any questions that come to you now or at any other time, you can ask me and Shelby, and we will get you the answer to any of those expenditures.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Shelby, and welcome. I know it's first meeting, so it's great. It's great to have you in this position and help and guide us through these financials, because obviously as a board, that's fiduciary responsibility, one of our core responsibilities. So with that, I am going to ask for a motion and a second to approve the monthly bills in the amount of $929,771.90. Kim, if you could call roll for that.
We have a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
Oh, thank you.
I second.
Now, if you could call the roll, thank you.
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes, sorry.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
and Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Bills are approved. Our next item is adoption of financial ordinance calendar. And we have our attorney, Roger Ritzman, here, who is going to talk to us a bit about this calendar, which I know is also in your packet. Roger?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. The fact that we are an autonomous unit of local government means we have lots and lots of flexibility. It also comes with the responsibility of raising revenues by real estate taxes. So as a kind of a 30,000-foot flyover, over the course of the next 6 months, we'll be looking at the library's financial picture, and the end game for us in terms of raising money to operate the library is the passage of a levy ordinance, which is an ordinance that the library board passes, which constitutes a directive to the county clerks to incorporate our monetary request into real estate tax bills next spring. So, for example, the last levy that was made for the library district by the court order as part of the transition called for a tax levy of about $14.7 million. So that's the revenue that we will be receiving in calendar year 2021. Our fiscal year, though, runs from July until June. So effective July 1 of this year, we're going to be entering the next financial calendar, so to speak. And by November, we will have adopted a levy ordinance, which is a direction to the county clerk. So let's just say, ballpark numbers, we're probably going to be looking at something in the neighborhood of $15 million. That's obviously a judgment call for you folks, but those are the kinds of numbers that we're looking at. And so we're going to be seeing those figures over the course of the next, let's say, 6 months or so. Again, the end game is by November, we're going to have a levy ordinance that we will pass and then get filed with the various county clerks. The calendar that we're talking about is important because the statutes which allow us to raise real estate tax revenue have various procedural requirements with publication of notices, a public hearing before we adopt our budget and appropriation ordinance. And so the easy way to avoid having the board conduct special board meetings is to schedule all of these various compliance requirements compatible with the board's regular meeting schedule. That way we don't have to be calling special meetings because we failed to comply with the 30-day notice requirement. We forgot to publish in the newspaper that we're going to have a public hearing, et cetera. So Michaela has put together a financial ordinance calendar that complies with the various statutory requirements. And I've looked at that and worked with her on that. And so that calendar enables us to comply with our statutory requirements so that we can get our levy ordinance filed towards the end of the year and get our real estate tax revenue next year. We don't really need to get in the weeds right now about what statutes are applicable and what they require. All of that's incorporated in the calendar so that basically if we connect the dots with the calendar that's been established, we're going to meet our statutory requirements and we're going to get our levy ordinance filed in a timely fashion by the end of the year. So basically, we're coordinating the statutory requirements with the board meeting schedule, and that's what this calendar is all about.
Thank you for that, that helpful description, Roger. Are there any questions, first of all, for Roger on what he just spoke of? Maybe for you, Michaela, when we talk about, so obviously the first thing we see on this calendar is preparing a tentative budget and an appropriation ordinance. And it mentions, obviously the staff involved with that, and then the finance committee, which will consist of myself, our treasurer, Melinda, and then I guess one or two other board members.
Correct.
But what are you seeing in terms of a schedule as far as when that finance committee meeting to have this conversation?
Right. So I'll tell you that Shelby and I and the rest of the executive team, and indeed the entire management team, have been working on the budget for, well, as long as Shelby's been here. Actually, we've been working on a little bit before he began. So we will have something in really good shape for you to consider in July. I think you all will appoint committees at your June meeting. And then I would like to have a finance committee meeting in early July. Probably the second week in July, if we can manage it. That will give you time to consider and us time to make changes. Then at our board meeting in July, we will discuss that tentative budget and appropriation ordinance. We will also, and this isn't a legal requirement, but we will pass what we call a working budget, and that lays out our expenditures by location. And we did this last year, if you remember, Joe and Melinda, and so we'll do that too, so that we have something to work with on the staff side, and so that the public can see how we intend to do our expenditures. So that's how we'll begin, with the committee appointments in June, finance committee meeting in July, and then consideration by the full board at the July board meeting, July 28th.
Okay, thank you for that, Michaela. So to be clear, tonight, our only action that we need to take is to just to approve the calendar that was presented to us. So are there any other questions before we go to that? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve Ordinance 2021-4 Financial Ordinance Calendar for 2021-2022?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Kim, could you call the roll?
Brian Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yeah, yes.
Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you again, Roger, for being with us tonight and taking us through that. Do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, we are in the home stretch here. We are moving into the next agenda item of non-resident card program participation. Michaela.
All right, if it's all right, I will introduce the next two agenda items together. They are sort of companion pieces. So every year we are required by state law to approve our participation in the non-resident borrower program and to set the fee that we're required to charge non-resident households for library cards. So participation in this program allows our cardholders to visit other participating libraries and borrow materials there, and allows the cardholders of those other libraries to visit us and borrow our materials. This is an opt-in or opt-out program. You can't pick and choose which libraries you want to work with. You participate in the program or you don't. We are required by Illinois law to charge a fee for those who want to use our library, who live closer to our district than to any other library service area, and who are also not in our service area. So you all know that there are pockets of areas in Aurora that are within the outer limits of the city line, but not actually part of the city of Aurora. And those are the people that we're talking about here. So there are a couple of different ways to calculate that fee that we're required to charge. We can ask people to bring in their property tax bills and calculate a different fee for each property. Or we can use one fee based on the formula that's in the memo that's in your packets. We are recommending that we use the formula method. Because our revenues were up significantly, the fee is also going to be up. It was $169 last year per household, mind you, and it'll be $232.25 per household this year. This is the lowest legally allowable fee. So just to be clear, you are allowed to charge more, but you're not allowed to charge less. It has to be commensurate to what a household in our service area would pay. So we're asking you tonight to do two things: to approve our participation in the program and to approve the new fee. So this is all in the memo in your packet, but I will say, for the benefit of anybody listening, that our foundation will continue to fund scholarship cards so that families who are eligible pay $25 and the foundation will fund the rest. And I'll also say that last year's Cards for Kids legislation requires us to provide free cards for eligible students in Aurora schools who live in the township areas outside of our service area. So there are lots of options, fortunately, for those who cannot afford this fee. It's kind of a lot to take in, maybe. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
So Michaela, I would be interested in knowing, if you have the information available, approximately how many people participated in this program last year, or maybe 2019 is a better, metric. And then also, how do people become aware of the programs that you discussed? The foundation program and the program that allows for this to be paid for eligible children.
Right. So I don't have the exact number, Suzanne, but we have a couple hundred people.
Okay, that's good.
In this program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a huge number. Typically, people find out that they are not in our library service area when they come to the library to get a library card. Most of them are quite surprised to realize that they're not in our service area. And so at that point, that's when we sort of trigger that process that says, and people will just say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And we say, yes, it is. You can pay quarterly. We have this program. There's this other legislation. We go through that. We are implementing a new system, an online system for library card registration. And this will help provide that awareness, we think, at a quicker point in the process, so that people understand sooner where they lie and what their options are. Heather, she's our director of neighborhood services, but she's also sort of our project manager. She handles a lot of these kind of things, and she's working with this new system to help us with this. We've also discussed having a sort of a public awareness campaign around the school year is when we see a lot of people come in and bring their kids to sign up for library cards, and that's when we see a lot of people accessing these programs. So the plan is this year, especially with the emphasis on library resources in the schools to do that. And I think,
Okay, great.
Thank you. I think Matthew had a question too.
Yeah, I was going to touch on one thing. I remember as a child growing up, going to get registered for school. Basically, there would be someone from the Aurora Public Library there to register, parents and, children, getting them signed up with the library. Do we still do that?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Well, not last year, but but we do. And oftentimes we work with the schools there. The schools are in those cases, the schools have already verified residency. And so we don't need to. And I don't know if you remember this from your school days, but that process is fast. You go in, we fill out the form for you and you get your card. And, we'd like it to be that easy for everyone who registers for a library card. And so we're going to work to make that happen. But yes, in short, we do still do that.
Okay. Yep, that was my question.
Yeah.
Any other questions for me? Go ahead.
Sorry. So when you have the residents of, let's say, Naperville or Oswego or some other city nearby, they want to borrow material from our library system. Do they get charged, or is it a reciprocal charge back mechanism that exists? How does that work?
Right. So the non-resident borrower program that we're asking you to approve is what allows us to serve a Naperville library patron. So what happens if you live in Naperville, you come to us, you bring your Naperville card, we verify that you're in good standing. We make you a card with our system because the two computer systems don't talk to each other. We make you a card with ours, and then you can use those cards, or we register your number in our system. One of those two ways.
So in that case, do we charge Naperville Library for the?
We do not. We agree to provide that service to their customers, and they agree the same. The only instance where we charge or they charge is when you, Sandeep, when you lose all of the books that you checked out from Naperville, then they bill us.
Okay.
Not that would happen, I'm sure it wouldn't, but and vice versa. We charge each other back for lost materials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was just going to ask, is that good with any library card holder, or how far? Is it just like in the area, or could somebody from Bloomington come in?
Yeah.
Just wondering how far that stretches.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a statewide program. And as long as that library participates in the non-resident borrower program, then they can use our library resources here. So yeah, if you're tooling around Illinois and you want to check out a book in Litchfield or wherever you happen to be, you can do that. Because we participate in that program, and assuming that they do too. There are a few libraries that don't participate in this program, and those libraries are true standalone, and so you can't use their resources and they can't use ours.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I think it's a great system that we have in Illinois. That you can basically use any library in the state.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Not every state has this, so.
Yeah. Okay, so there will need to be two motions. The first of which is just our board agreeing to participate in this program for another year. And then the second motion is going to be to establish that non-resident card fee that Michaela has described. So I will start by asking if I could have a motion and a second to approve the Aurora Public Library District's participation in the non-resident cardholder program effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2022.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Kim, could you call roll?
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Motion carries. Non-resident program participation is approved. So now I will ask for a motion a second to set the fee for non-resident cards at $232.25 effective July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2022.
I move to set the fee.
Second.
Second.
All right, thank you both. Kim, could you call roll?
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Non-resident program participation fee is approved. So that brings us to adjournment. I will just bring up one final thing in regards, Michaela, next meeting, do we have any idea what we're doing for next meeting? Are we Zooming? Are we going to be at West Branch? I guess maybe we have to wait and see.
I suspect that we will be meeting in person in the next meeting. And Joe, I think I told you wrong. It'll be at Santori. That's our
Oh,
schedule.
okay.
If the governor's emergency declaration expires at the end of the month, as I think it will, our authority to meet remotely goes away. So we will have to be meeting in person then. So if that is the requirement, then we will meet at Santori. We'll be in the teen program room. Probably there's room there to distance and to have members of the public attend as well. So, we're really in that another strange place in the pandemic where we don't know what's going to happen in 4 weeks. So bear with me, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay. Thank you, Michaela. I don't even remember how to meet with people in person, so we'll see how that goes. But it'll be great if we can. So at this point, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn our meeting at 7:33 p.m.
No motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, one last time, Kim, may you call the roll?
Ryan Citron,
Yes.
Joe Philippek,
Yes.
Paul Latour,
Yes.
Sandeep Blonde,
Yes.
Matthew Orr,
Yes.
Melinda Riddick,
Yes.
and Suzanne Stegeman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. So thank you all. For many of you, your very first meeting. Look forward to working with all of you months and years. For some of you, more years than others, perhaps, based on our lottery. Have a good evening, everybody.